crosstalk. Now that I'm saved, I'm giving praise. It's the crosstalk.
Yo, Davis, another one. Check it.
It's the
Does it
crosstalk.
profit a man just to lose his soul? It's like the end of a rainbow without the gold. It's like a car without no AC. Cause it don't matter how you ride, you gon' feel the heat. But does it profit a man if he gave his life, forgiving sins to make amends and no more strife? Let me tell you about this faith talk. It was the blood so we could see the Crips walk.
It's the crosstalk. Now that I'm saved, I'm giving praise. It's the crosstalk.
Boom.
And we are live.
Point of no
Bro, hold on.
You gotta get your K fixed. You gotta get your K fixed. You guys already know what time it is, man. It is Tuesday, right?
Welcome to the Cross Talk Podcast. You know how we do it. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m., we come to bring the fire, come to bring just some amazing people. Listen, the month of May has been so dope.
Spectacular.
As you know, the month of May, we have just gave tribute to women to be on the show. Man, it's been super dope. And you probably wonder why I got on the cape. Okay? There's a reason why I have on the cape. Because these women have inspired me. They have super powers.
Not only that, but this next one.
Oh,
This next one, because she wears so many hats. She has like an S on her
she
chest.
inspired this.
Like, I don't think you guys understand. Like, once we dive into everything that she does and everything that makes her such an incredible woman, you guys gonna understand why he has this cape on.
I'm trying to figure
Because
out.
she's saving everybody.
I'm like, is she Marvel, DC, whatever it is? She got superpowers.
She got
bro.
superpowers.
And that's why I wore this cape today. Anyways, yo, man, you know how we do. We do.
So
our
hold on, you
spiritual-
what? Let me bring her on. Let me get her camera situated.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we're gonna go ahead and then give her part of.
Our check-in.
Yeah, we're
I
gonna
love
check in
that.
with her too.
I love that.
So, let me go get her up on the screen real quick. Hold on 1 second. There we go.
This is gonna be amazing.
And so, like I said, I don't know how God has blessed us with these women this month, such incredible women. But man,
bro.
I'm
wearing this tomorrow to work.
you gonna go to catch work?
Yeah,
Are
absolutely.
you serious? You're that inspired?
I'm that inspired.
See, God is good. God is good.
My students gonna be like, "What is?" I'm gonna be like, "Shh, it's the power."
It's the superpowers.
Power, bro. So listen, once again, y'all, if y'all just tuning in, welcome to the Crosstalk Podcast. We have a super wonderful, dope guest in the house tonight. If you don't know who she is, you will know. I don't even know how to do this introduction, but I'm just going to say amazing, wonderful, talented,
Superb.
extraordinaire, superpowers.
There's not enough words in the dictionary to describe this amazing woman that we have, bless you guys, with to have this conversation with.
So give it up for Keyonna Monroe. Listen, y'all going to hear some
Hold on,
dope
we got
information. What you got over there? Oh, you got your claps?
I got the claps. Wait, no, hold on. Yeah.
Listen, Keyonna, thank you so much for blessing us with your presence.
Thank
on
you
the
for
show
having
tonight.
me.
Yes, listen, we are so honored to have you here. And so I know people are excited, and I know they want to hear your story because, once again, you inspired me to wear the cape today. So, first off, I guess just kind of tell us a little bit of who you are, your background, you know, where you come from, and then we'll just kind of dive into some more things if you don't mind.
A little bit about me. I am born and raised in South Central LA. I'm, just a little girl from the hood who made it out. And I am a mother to one son. In regards to work, I went to Spelman and I majored in English, and then I went to USC and I got my bachelor's degree in English there, and then came and got my master's at USC and minored in communications and broadcast journalism. So I am an entrepreneur. I didn't stay in TV. I was a sports journalist for a while, and then worked in production with HBO, NBC, Universal, E, and the Esquire Network, before starting my own nonprofit organization for young girls in regards to their confidence building skills, ethical leadership development skills, emotional intelligence, and mental and emotional health and wellness. And that organization is nationwide. Actually, it's global now. And then I work as a certified and trained life coach, LYF, which stands for Loving Yourself First. And I am certified in neurolinguistic programming, cognitive behavioral health, and emotional intelligence. So I speak all over the world. I have books out. I have an animated series coming out next year through Disney. I'm working on my 5th book, and I have music out. So I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah,
congratulations on the music too.
Thank you.
That dropped yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Listen.
Thank you.
So
It's like I wear enough hats. Let me put on another one.
do y'all see why I got the cape on?
And another one.
It's appropriate. Listen.
Another one.
Another one. You feel me? Man, no, but kudos to that, man. Heard the track several times today. My daughter even heard it. My daughter loves it. Yeah, she's like, she sounds so beautiful. I'm like, yeah, congratulations.
She loved it so much.
Yeah, go ahead, show.
She wanted to send you a note that says,
Just send me a note.
that I love your music. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she went and drew a little castle on there because she knows, you run stuff.
Okay, so I have to send her a signed book. How old is she?
She's only 6.
Oh, yeah. I got some children's books for her. I'll sign them and sign from the singer she likes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
That's great. That's great.
So I want to kind of ask you with all the things that you do and, working with, major companies, Fortune 500 companies, and just doing all the things that you do, teaching the emotional intelligence and all of these things. Like, how did you, because you said I was a girl from the hood. Like, how did this start? Where did this come from? This trajectory of your career and what you do? Like, how did you go from the girl in the hood to the woman that you are now?
Well, number one, by God's good grace, right?
Amen.
Of creating intimacy in spaces where there were not, and going through the evolution of myself and the development of myself and the nurturing of myself, and understanding that who I thought I was supposed to be and who I was told I was going to be was not the purpose that God had for me. And it took me a minute to recognize, my wants and my needs from my purpose and how to blend them all in beautifully to become an answer to other people's prayers. And basically, I felt as though there's still a current need today from me at my 40-year-old self. There's still a current need for what I needed growing up. There's still that same need and demand in the world today. There are a lot of the problems that I dealt with as a child are still relevant. Unfortunately, some of them are still relevant today. And I felt like the best way to become a solution for a problem is, number one, to heal, right? So that you can teach people how to get across the bridge to the other side based off of personal experience, but also to heal and then to go back and learn who I am. And so that I can be relatable to other people, but then also talk to them with an educated, healed, loving version of myself. And I like to say that it's my purpose to be a reflection of God's heart in the flesh, unconditionally, to the best of my ability.
Amen.
Wow.
Amen.
Listen, you said something so deep, and I was trying to write it down real fast. I was like, she know herself, because it was so profound. Something along the lines, you said that you understood your wants and needs and how that coincide with God's purpose to be the answer to others' prayer, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, wow.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like, how did you get to that space? Like, how did you understand that? Because that's deep.
Getting to that space, stillness, right? Being tired of myself, being tired of consistent outcomes that don't serve me, that are unhealthy, wanting more and not seeing the results of what I believed I wanted. So I had to be mature enough to understand that I might be responsible for some of the negative impact that's happening in my life, right? And be able to, and in order to be accountable and responsible, I have to be aware, which means it requires a lot of honesty with myself. You know, I want to know who I am and who I'm meant to be versus who people think I am and who other people want me to be, or believe me to be, for their needs or for their hopes or for their insecurities to be met. But that's not any of the business that pays me. And so I need to, mind and tend to my own purpose. So stillness in front of a mirror is the best thing I could have ever done. And when I say stillness, it's saying, you know what, I'm going to spend this amount of time on my own figuring out myself. No dating, no overly hanging out, making sacrifices. It was almost like a full year fast. And I went to therapy, right? Because I knew that this journey wasn't meant, to happen on my own. And I believe just as much as God blesses, a doctor that takes a scalpel and works on you, no different than a psychiatrist or a psychologist who was blessed with the gift of talk therapy and be able to work on the mind and be able to work on the thoughts and your healing. And I took a year out to do that. And I also wanted a deeper, more intimate relationship with the Lord. And regardless of, and this is not for everybody, but I didn't find it in the building for me. I wanted something that required a lot more depth that I could not find in a church building. So I was always going to the beach and to the ocean because that's where I was closest to, right? And it was an opportunity to be with a body of water that was a part of this world, which is bigger than myself. And if I want bigger for my life, and I'm asking for a God that's bigger than me, that I need to go to something that's bigger, which was, to me, the ocean. And I spent a lot of that time, quality time, intimate time, unraveling, fully transparent, fully honest, and vulnerable, and expressed all the things that I didn't like, expressed all the pain with therapy and everything else like that. But really sitting with myself, accepting my faults, accepting the things that have happened, accepting the things that I can't change, acceptance, pure acceptance, right? And then understanding which areas needed to be healed by myself and which areas I was looking to fill that were voids. And I was looking for those needs to be filled by other people. And a lot of it was family and looking for validation from family, looking for acceptance from family, looking to prove or people please or just different things from family. I had to unlearn a lot of conditioned programming that reflected behavioral habits that didn't support who I said I wanted to be. So I had to go all the way back, which is what I do now with adults, which is kind of peel the layers backwards and figure out my why so that I understand my why not, to figure out, who said these things about me? Where were these seeds planted? Who said I couldn't do this? Who said I wasn't allowed to do this? Why do I have to look this way? Why do I have to go to school here? Why do I have to work here? What part of that is the makings of me, which is the result of, God's will for my life versus what other people wanted.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you that stillness is everything.
So you found happiness within yourself.
I did, because I had to figure out who I was. I had to know me. I didn't know me. I knew the versions of me that people wanted me to be, but that's not necessarily, who I was.
Yeah.
I was married to the image of everyone but myself.
Wow. Okay. Listen, I'm over here writing. I'm in class. I'm in class.
Taking notes. She charges for that.
Listen, I'm in the workshop right now. Listen, I'm so glad that you're speaking to this. Once again, I think, this can relate to anyone, but I think particularly for women, as we are giving tribute for the month of May, to women and mental health. You said you understood your why to know the why nots. Like, man, it's just so profound. And for those that are listening, having that time to be to yourself and really get to know who you are and to look in that mirror and to really understand who you are and who you want to be versus what everybody else wants you to be. And I think that's where we have that feeling of unhappiness or feeling incomplete, because we're trying to fulfill what everybody else wants us to be.
Trying to make everybody else happy.
And not knowing
and not making ourselves happy.
Right, what God wants us to be. And I like how you said that, just like, once you understood who you are and knowing yourself and then knowing your wants and needs and who you want to be and how that parallels with God's purpose. I mean, like, you talk about the whole person. So when you talk to young girls, because Pretty to Me is the nonprofit organization that you have, what are you sharing with these young girls?
For the young girls who are actual young girls, I always say that, number one, beauty is in the mirror. Beauty is what you see in the mirror when your eyes are closed, right? So I want them to understand that their value is not only meant for the outer appearance. You're beautiful because your integrity. You're beautiful because your heart. You're beautiful because your character speaks, and shows up, and it leaves an imprint and an impact on people's lives. And you don't have to look outside of yourself for validation. Right. Understand, be clear about your no's, be clear about your whys, why you're doing what you're doing, why you're passionate about what you're passionate about, so that you know why not, why you're not going out and partying with other people, why you are focused, why you're not doing, what else the crowd might be doing. Right. I talk to them about being emotionally intelligent and having empathy, understanding your emotions, validating your emotions, but being able to manage those as well. Having healthy relationships, a healthy relationship with yourself, so that you can have a healthy relationship with others. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. You teach people what you tolerate and what you allow, by not setting boundaries consistently. And I teach that really, really early, not all at once. It's a whole semester program, but that's really important because these are the character traits that they are going to grow up having, right? And that they're going to reflect in the world and project onto other people. So you want them to be as positive and healthy as possible as they're going through this, evolution of human experience, as a spiritual experience in this human body, impacting the world as a service, however they're giving to the world, whatever they're choosing to give to the world. Right. Do it in love, do it in kindness, do it compassionately, and do it with the willingness to forgive and extend grace, because we need it. Absolutely. And that's important. So
I got a question. I know that I was skimming through your social media and I seen an article, or basically an interview they did with you about sex trafficking. So did the sex trafficking come before you wanted to help out the girls, or how did that play into everything that you do?
Well, yeah, the sex trafficking happened when I was a little girl. So that was my whole being what I needed, for other girls when I needed it, when I was a little girl. Right? I didn't have anybody tell me that I mattered. I didn't have anybody to tell me to validate myself. I was looking for validation outside myself. I heard everybody tell me, "Oh, you're so pretty, but I wasn't pretty to me. Hence the reason, the name of the organization, right? I wasn't beautiful to me. I wasn't pretty to me. I didn't like me. I didn't know me. I didn't believe that I was, worth or worthy of anything, because I've gone through so much sexual abuse and being denied and being unbelieved that I didn't necessarily know who I was. So I let other people tell me who I was. I was susceptible to peer pressure and influence from other girls. I was in a gang because of that. I was getting bullied all the time. So, I didn't have anybody say, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be that. And let me be, strength for you. I didn't have the community in the village. So the gang was that for me, right? But it was a double-edged sword, because believe it or not, some of the girls that were in the gang didn't like me. They were very jealous. Yeah. Hence the reason of you pick your friends. You don't let your friends pick you. Yeah. But you have to feel worthy of that. You have to have some self-esteem and some confidence and some love and value for yourself. And I didn't have that. Yeah. Right. So it was important to pay attention to all the habits I had, right? And the why. Why did I have those habits? Why did I feel like that? Why was it important for me to have adults? What type of adult did I want to have in my life when I was younger? And I decided to become that and be that, right? And I extend love. I can teach you all day. And that is from the children who are in this country and other countries that I work with. I'm going to love you. That's what you're going to get from Miss Keyonna. That's what I do for a living, right? I teach love. I teach love of self and love of others, and understanding the intimacy that is required to know yourself, right? Because my entire program, from the children to the adults, are based on love yourself as you love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yeah. I believe growing up, the people that harmed me didn't love themselves. They didn't know themselves. They didn't accept themselves. There was a lot of self-hate. There was probably a lot of abuse. Some I know experienced some sexual abuse of their own. So hurt people hurt people. So I decided to grow up and heal the hurt, so that I don't have to spread that type of pain or project that type of pain to other people. And I believe that as we love ourselves, and as I teach these young girls and the adults to go backwards to their inner child and relearn to know and love themselves, right? Now you can love your neighbor. Now you can love your friends. Now you can overspill and overpour that love into every aspect of your life, because I truly believe that love can heal all things. How you look at love, how you experience love with yourself, how you experience love with your children, how you experience love with your family, with your significant other, with your friends, right? You spend 8 hours a day with coworkers, how you love what you do for a living and who you're around. Love is everywhere and is in all things. When you lack it, right, then you start, it's a rippling effect of everything else. Envy, greed, self-hate, all that other stuff.
So do you think lack of love could be like something that is like a cycle that's taught through, like your mother, because your mother didn't love you properly, and her mother didn't love her properly? So do you think it's more of a cycle thing that happens with these kids, or do you think it's something that they experience through like outside factors?
I do think that it is a cycle. I think it's a pattern, but it's not necessarily the fault of anyone. It is conditioned programming. It's learned behavior that, yes, has trickled down. We act the way we act because there's another way that we were not taught. I didn't know to validate myself before walking out of the door every day. I didn't know what healthy boundaries were and how to set them. I didn't know that my no meant no, and to value my voice and what it is that I say. I didn't know to be mindful of my finances, not because, of fear that there will never be enough, but to manage my finances because I love myself enough not to stress over money, right? And my view of money, my view of my diet, my view of, how I tend and care for my body. I care for my body out of love. I eat good out of love. I manage my finances out of love. I set my boundaries, and I set boundaries to who have access to me out of love, right? I communicate effectively. I extend kindness and patience and forgiveness out of love for myself. So the people who are around me, they benefit, right, from having access to me, but they benefit from the love that I have for myself. If I didn't love me, they wouldn't want to be around me so much. And that, like I said, that includes your marriage, dating. You know, I love me enough to shoot for my dreams. I love me enough to go after a job that makes me happy because I love me and I want me to be happy. It's a mindset and it's a thought process that has to change, which is why I say it's unlearning conditioned programming, a day-to-day seeds being sown into your thoughts, into your minds, which you now create as character, which you create as habit, which you create as patterns. Right. And now it's just this is who I am. It's not necessarily who you are, it's who you were programmed to be.
Listen, I don't know what beach you've been at, but I'm going to go to the same ocean. I don't know if I'm in therapy or at church. I want to cry. I want to throw my hands up. Listen, this is what.
Well, you got the cape on. And we had a conversation the other day. So in the conversation, you mentioned that you had several schools.
Yes.
Right. So, you know, so what you said is hurt people, right?
Correct.
So I got a question. I was just thinking. So how many people have you helped that wanted to come back and then be a help to your organization? Because if that's the case, that means that heal people, right?
That is correct. I get it all the time. I get girls who were a part of Suicide Watch and get the green light to move on, and they have evolved and healed out of my organization. I've gotten parents or I've gotten adults who were going through really harsh mental health trials and tribulations and decided, you know what, I think I've healed enough now that I can be of service and be of help. I work with volunteers all the time. Quite a few of them right now are in Africa because I have a safe house for women and young girls who've been abused or who have survived sexual abuse or domestic violence, right? And they live in a safe house for 6 months. And I have 2 volunteers that used to work alongside of me after being clients of mine, right? And decided that they wanted to travel abroad, and they went there. Wow. And I trained them to do what it is that I do and train them on the curriculum. So.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? So like she has her own ministry, because think about it. So when people come to church, right? Or when they go to church and then they're sick and they're hurt, right? And after they get ministered to with the word, and after they get healed, you know, with their soul and their spirit, they start going on, they start ministering. So what she's doing is she's starting this amazing ministry just out of her life circumstances. And that's amazing, because what you did is you turned your struggle into not only your victory, but where other people could have victory stories too. And that is so tremendous. Mm-hmm. That really is.
I like what she said earlier, and it's ringing in my head. And something that I've posted probably the last 2 weeks is I just kept hearing, I choose love.
Yeah.
I choose love. Like, I'm at a space where I have to choose love.
Amen.
For myself, the love that God has, so that how I show up in the world, I choose love. You talked about, man, there's so much.
There's an accolade that I remember. So you worked with the Obama administration, right?
The Obama Foundation, yes.
Okay.
Plenty of organizations. I've partnered with plenty of organizations. Yeah.
The
good ones.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then, so you also talk to these big, like Fortune 500 companies, right?
Yeah. So I do the Microsoft conference annually every year. Boeing, Raytheon, Amazon Prime, Citibank, Wells Fargo, just to name a few. And I talk to them about emotional intelligence in the workplace. It's still love. I will always teach love for a living.
Wells
now
Fargo,
I'm going to read it and format it differently, but still love.
Yeah. Listen, Wells Fargo, I need you to love me. Jesus.
Listen, he said right now. Listen.
It's all love.
Listen, Wells Fargo. He said right now.
Listen,
got him a break and a check at the same time.
Listen, I'm. There's so much to who you are, and I know I'm being comical, but just when I came across your content and who you were, and what you were putting out, like the love, that's what I saw. That's what touched me, was the love. And like I always, like, it's a decision, like you have purpose, like it's love. Like, this is how I'm going to show up in the world, and I choose love. And so tell us a little bit about, because of course you're an author, so tell us about just the books you have written, where we can access those writings. Just tell us a little bit about that.
You can find these books anywhere between Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, anywhere books are sold, right? So I have 4 children's books. And the reason why I made 4 children's books is because I had a principal from an elementary school say, hey, we have heard all about the Pretty to Me Foundation. You're in a couple different schools. And I wanted to know if you work with little kids, which I don't. I start them as young, and I brought that down because I started at 11, but then I brought it down as young as 9 because I have some really mature 9-year-olds, and I wanted to create a transition from like maybe start them off at like maybe 4th or 5th grade and transition into middle school, already being confident in who they are. So instead, I decided to write some children's books. My son is an artist, so I decided to make it kind of a mommy-daughter, a mommy-son type of mommy and me thing with having him do some of the artwork. And I said, well, let me start, because like I said, it's learned behavior, right? Conditioned programming. And I'm just thinking, what seeds can I plant in children very young, right? That would help them build character. So when they get to me, that they're, already maybe a little bit on the right path, if they do get to me, or if they get to somebody else. So I created 4 books, and they focus on empathy. They focused on emotional intelligence, acts of kindness, acts of service, meditation and patience, forgiveness, right? Healthy and kind communication, being patient and compassionate towards others and yourself. All the things that I teach to my girls, and the things that I teach to adults, right? In my counseling sessions, I started teaching it very, very young with kids. And I even have a book. The last one that came out is called Pretty to Me. And it's about every different girl that I've worked with who has talked to me about her insecurity. And I decided to put some of that in a book, from having a gap in her teeth, having freckles all over, and not just the freckles that people are like, oh, I love freckles. No, freckles everywhere, from the ear to the eyes, and freckles absolutely everywhere. Vitiligo, where is the different pigmentations in the skin, being really, really, really dark chocolate and being picked on because of the color of their skin. Everything that I could think of that I can put in a children's book is in there. Lessons that I teach of, as long as you feel beautiful to you when you look in the mirror, and pouring into them so that they can accept themselves and love themselves and validate themselves, right? And build that rapport and understand the character traits that are honest and pure and good and loving, right? Everything else can be taught. Academics can be taught, but I don't believe in teaching to a letter grade. I believe in pouring into their character, right? So they can show up for themselves. And the benefit of that will be the academic success, which has worked for me and all the kids that I've ever worked with. They always do better academically when they've been in my program.
Oh yeah, because you got the confidence. Once you got the confidence about yourself, you just feel like you take on the world. Sound like how you got this cape on.
Yeah, and not just that. It's just like, what's your mindset? Let's talk about why you feel like, I'm not good at this. Who told you weren't good at this? Again, all my stuff I pull little bits and tidbits from the Bible. It's very, who told you were naked? Yeah. But in my own voice, in the way I do it. Who told you you're not good enough? Who told you you can't do that? Who told you you're not smart? Who told you you weren't pretty? Right. Who told you you were small? Who told you you were too short? Who told you you're too skinny? Who told you you're too fat? Your self-talk, your self-image, your self-validation, your self-acceptance. How do you think and speak? Do you believe what you say? If so, you need to be mindful of what you think and say about yourself, because you're believing it, right? And now you're creating habits and patterns that you may have to unlearn, or you have other people saying it about you. And the opinion that you have of yourself should be top. not the middle, not the bottom, not last, but first. And that's what's kind of in these children's books. And then I have a journal, and that is a self-love guided journal. And it breaks down areas where you need healing. And it's a full year. It's for a full year. You're supposed to write in it, right? There's goal setting in there. There's scripture in there. There's affirmations in there. It's meant to hold you accountable for the changes that you say you want to make within yourself. Wow. Right? And if you're working with me, if you're doing counseling sessions with me, it's mandatory to have to work in that. You have to journal, because sometimes the best way to see change is to actually see the change.
Yeah.
Man.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the name of her children's books, one of them is Pretty to Me. The other one is Let Your Love Be Contagious. Mom is Recharging Her Batteries.
Yes.
And Different But the Same.
Different but the same.
So if you guys are looking for her books, go out and get them. I'm pretty sure, so what I'm assuming the mom is recharging her batteries is children learning the boundaries by letting their mom kind of be at rest or be at peace, or what's the main story about that book?
So that one was based off of me and my son, right? Okay. And I always say, Mommy needs a moment to recharge her batteries. This means I need to set boundaries. I want you to create space for me to be grateful for what I do, right? But be mindful that, Mommy needs her time, and that your time and your self-care is very, very important in however you choose to do that. And an understanding that, respecting the effort that our parents are putting into us, while allowing them some time and some space and contributing to that, and showing appreciation and gratitude of saying, I'll give you some time. I'll do something special for you to show my gratitude for what you do to me. It's an ebb and flow. It's a give and take of not just making withdrawals from people you love, but making deposits as well. And every children's book has downloadable worksheets, right, that go with it, because those books are meant for reading and comprehension. It's okay to read, but it's also it's important to understand what it is that you've read. And so the workshops, the worksheets that I created for children is just that. And I've sent it to a lot of schools which have, second and third graders whose reading and comprehension skills aren't doing really well. So that is something that I send to teachers so that they can read to them, right? And then have them work on the worksheets to help them understand what they read. And then if they don't have time, there is an animated version of each one of those books that I've narrated. So it's like Audible, but for kids in a fun way, with sound effects and all that other good jazz to it. Reminds me of Reading Rainbow, that they don't have anymore.
Yeah, they took that away.
I decided to bring it back. Yeah, I decided to
Thank you. Thank you. Matter of fact,
yeah, it's very Reading Rainbow. Very, and this maybe might definitely tell my age, but growing up, I used to have books that, you would sit and put the cassette tape in, and I put mine in my Teddy Ruxpin. And I
remember the Teddy Ruxpin.
Right?
Teddy Ruxpin.
And it would read to me, and then it says, when you hear the chime, ring, turn the page, right? I did exactly that in every single book. But I created sound effects and music and animation to it. So that's another version, because it makes reading and learning and listening, it makes, morals, principles, value, character building skills fun, right? So that's for kids. And then the journal is for adults. And then I'm currently working on a memoir that will be out, I don't know, maybe next year after next.
Yeah, got the cape on. Put that cape on. Well, because look, I mean, you're saving, like, you're pouring love into so many demographics and age range, right? I mean, sheesh. I
mean, when you think about the book Different But the Same, right? Different But the Same is a book about a bunch of children of different ethnic backgrounds, different cultures, and different family dynamics. And they all live in a neighborhood. Every last one of them are different, right? They have to have different pets, but they all go to the same school. They're all there to learn. They all love each other. They love their family. they love their pets, even though their pets are different. Their pets have the same needs. They need to be fed, they need to be loved, they need to be cared for. So the point and purpose of that is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And even though we are all different, right, we can still live harmoniously with one another, with our differences, right, respecting the differences and valuing, you know, the similarities as well.
Yeah.
And that is the book that's my little thumbprint on trying to work on racism from a child's age. Okay. Right. Ignorance is what keeps a lot of hate and lack of self-love, and seeds that are sown by parents who have racism embedded in their minds and hearts. But kids are not born that way. And I feel like if you consistently teach them another way, right, it may not save the whole world, and it may not save it in my time, but it will make an impact and imprint. And sometimes it just takes one. Absolutely. And that is the book that Disney picked up, and it's being turned into an animated series.
Really?
Because it will make such a big impact and such a big difference. And it's called Adventures of D.V. Lane. And the whole point and purpose is for children to go back in time and find out where things originated from. Because when you understand that we all use things from different countries and different ethnic backgrounds that made something valuable to our lives, you'll start to respect other people and what they bring to your life, right? Versus being ignorant. It's educating children so that they can learn to have a respect for other people that are in the world that look different from them and think different from them, you know, have different cultures and economic backgrounds from them. It's still love. It's still love.
It's such a blessing, especially when it comes to so many social media, you know, entities, right? So influencers, is what we call them nowadays. You got so many people out there giving, you know, bad advice.
Right. But
you're pouring nothing but love into them because, you know, you got people who just speak what's on their feelings, right? And then sometimes them feelings really aren't, you know, not to say they're not valid, but they really don't put nobody in the best situation mentally, right? Because now you're feeding into what they're feeling. But you're counteracting everything with love. Like, look, like love yourself, love your neighbor. I mean, and then you're right. I mean, love heals everything.
Well, I think it's, you know, she talked about it. It's one of those things where we all have emotions. We all feel a certain way. But once, you know, she talked about the emotional intelligence, and that's really understanding.
That's the big part.
What I feel, why I feel. And when I can process that, and then what comes out of that, I'm mindful of how that shows up in the world.
Yeah.
And what that does is it teaches people to also recognize what other people might be feeling, and it teaches them to appreciate and understand that process. So just like when she talked about her son in that book of, you know, recharging, that was modeling that behavior of understanding to respect that space. So when he sees mom saying, hey, it's okay for me to take a break and time out, that's something that will be instilled in him to understand and appreciate those moments. And I keep hearing that behavior and modeling. And I go back to this because it was during Easter, and I have a 2.5-year-old son, and he was kind of cutting up. And so I told him, I said, son, do not do that. And he literally repeated what I said to me.
I remember that.
With his finger.
I remember that.
But it hit me like, this is why it's important that we model in how we present ourselves, because they're watching, you know. So I wanted to laugh. Then at the same time, I wanted to be like, I'm dad, but God was like, pay attention, because I'm trying to show you something that's a lot deeper than what you think it is.
Well, I mean, so we've all been to college, and we know that they don't teach emotional intelligence until you get to college. So I like the fact that, right? And then by then we done, you know, so I like the fact that you're teaching at such an early age.
Yeah, I mean, teaching it really early, like you said, talking to my son about self-care. Now my son has, he's 19 now, but one of the things he always says is, you know what, I'm really upset, I need a moment. Or when he comes home, he takes the day off. He calls it taking the day off.
Yeah.
I used to call it recharging my batteries. Now he calls, I need to chill. I need to take the day off.
Yeah.
So, and it is to self-care, to just kind of take off and mentally process the day and give yourself space to care for you. Self-care is really important to my kid now, because I started teaching him that really early.
Absolutely.
Kids model, who you are. So it's important to become what it is that you want to see, what it is that you require, or what it is that you expect from other people. And I teach that through emotional intelligence as adults. And then you kind of have to go back to their inner child. You have all these adults in a room working who are the, pick me type, or I want to be seen, I want to be heard. And that's fair, because I believe that people in the world want to be seen, heard, valued, and understood and respected, right? You don't have to agree with everything, but you need to say, I see you, I hear you, I understand. I may not agree, but I can, I may not agree and support your choices and decisions or your thought process, but I understand where it comes from, though mine may be different, right? That's still an act of love. You validate somebody's feelings, right? Because you can't just belittle someone and say that their feelings don't matter because they have them, because they differ from yours, right? It's not about trying to make someone like you. It's accepting and loving people for who they are, because you want people to love and accept you for who you are. And coming into a workspace, like, for example, like a Microsoft, and teaching people how to manage their emotions, how to communicate effectively, compassionately, and respectfully, right? Because everyone wants to be valued when at work. You're spending all that time. Everybody wants to be seen and heard. And you really have to, I always peel back layers of adults, because they're always showing me their inner child in the very beginning. And I can see where people's hurt is. When I get couples who come to me who are dating and want to get married, or married couples who I work with, and they're not talking to each other, they're not seeing one another. They either evolved apart, right? And they outgrew one another, and they are unwilling to accept the growth of their significant other. There's so many different layers to emotional intelligence that affect all avenues, even with dating. You're requiring somebody to be a certain way or do a certain thing, instead of extending primary love, which is creating a safe space for somebody to be authentically transparent, vulnerable, and themselves, versus showing you their representative, right? They need to have conversations with you and be with you with no fear of judgment or condemnation. This can be in a friendship, any type of relationship, right? Because you want to be with somebody who is who they are, not who they feel you need them to be, and an image that you've created. That's not love, right? And if they decide that this is not working, you can release people with love. And they say, you know what, this is not for me anymore, because love is not a prison. It's not a prison sentence. You don't hold people hostage. You love people enough to let them go if they feel like better is elsewhere, right? That means you let go of love that no longer is holding on to you, but wants to flourish elsewhere, right? You experience love with that person for the moment that you experience it in, and then you release. And that's just, there's so many layers. Like, there's no way I can even get into all of it in
let's
one
be honest.
show.
I mean, because since we're talking about that, it's a lot of people go through the breakups and stuff, right? And they start to get a bitterness about themselves. So is that bitterness because they truly didn't let go, or what does that bitterness stem from?
There can be a lot of reasons why that bitterness is there. One could be they showed them a representative. They showed someone an image of them that was false, and the other person found out, and they didn't like it, right? Or they refused to see, and I teach this course called the Crayon Theory, which is they they know they want purple love, right? But they're a red crayon and they're dating a yellow crayon and they're trying to, shape shift and therapy to death and talk and recreate and whatever the other person, thinking that person there internally is going to turn into a blue crayon. They're not. You're dating a yellow crayon. You need to accept this person for who they're showing you to be, right? And understanding that red and yellow make orange. Yeah. Right. And you need a purple crayon because red and blue. Well, you need a blue crayon because red and blue make purple. Right. It's the unwillingness to accept somebody for who they are. It's two people not being emotionally mature, right? Emotionally stable and emotionally available enough to extend that level of primary love. That's called the intimacy box, which I always teach as well. Right. Love requires respect. Respect requires trust. Trust requires safety. And you can only have that through compassionate communication. And you have to offer that through primary love, right? You have to feel safe enough with somebody to be who you are. And most of the time, people are upset and bitter because they feel like their time was wasted or they was used or manipulated or somebody lied to them. They led them on. And there's, like I said, it's so many different layers. And you have two people or one person who knows what they want. And then the other person that doesn't know what they want and thinks that they're going to find it in another person's bedroom. And that's not how it works either. You have to take the time to know and love who you are and what the experience of love is like with you so that you can navigate somebody to the center of your heart because that's where you live. Right. But if you don't know you well enough, if you don't love you, if you're not intimate with yourself, if you don't know your wants, your needs, your likes, your dislikes, your non-negotiables, your why nots, how are you going to be able to teach that type of love to somebody else? Right. And like I said, that's over an entire platform. That's your friendships. Deep. You know what I mean? Understanding what you value, your self-concept, who you are, and the characteristics of that. I'm constantly operating out of my values, and I value love. And I can break that character down. I always say, if you can't break down the characteristics of what it is that you value, you may want to reconsider, is that something that you value, or is that something that's been programmed and told to you that you need to value that? So you've taken on somebody else's, personality traits and values, not necessarily figured out who you are and set your own values up for the life that you want, right?
So I have this because we're almost at that time, and I feel like for those that are listening, if you haven't got some good stuff here today, then I don't even know if you have a pulse. I don't even know if you're alive. But before we go, I just want to make sure that you just let our viewers know again where they can find this information, your workshops, your books, and then just give us one thing that you want to leave our listeners with, just a quick nugget of that.
But start it how you started on Instagram. You know what I'm talking about.
You want a life tip? Life tip of the day?
Yeah. Started just like that. I love how she does that.
Yeah.
My life tip of the day, loving yourself first tip of the day. Well, number one, where you can find me, you can go to www.Keyonna, my full name.com. Right? You can catch all the podcasts. I will be uploading music on there this week. But you can stream it anywhere. You can stream it anywhere. Same thing for podcasts. You can go to the podcast and listen to it on iTunes, on Spotify,
Anchor.
But go on Anchor, exactly. Go straight to the website and you'll find everything. I'm offering a bundle deal on counseling and coaching. I'm also doing some workshops. So I highly recommend that you sign up to the newsletter, which will pop up once you go to the website. If you have children and you're interested in me working with your child or doing anything with children or want some books, if you don't find it on the Keyonna Monroe page, you can go to www.pretty2me.org. You can also, you can find me on social media. I'm Keyonna Monroe on LinkedIn, at Keyonna Loves Me. Yes, I make you say that out loud. On IG, and then Keyonna Monroe on Facebook and on Twitter. So that's it. I'm 40. I don't have all the million social media platforms. Like, I can't even keep up with half the stuff these young kids do these days.
Feel me? TikTok and everything else.
In regards to leaving something behind, right?
So I want you to start with the let's get into it, shall we?
I will. I never do a life tip, usually without I'm very, very intentional about life tips, right? So I'm going to do this one for your audience. Life tip of the day. Let's get into it. Shall we?
I love it.
Shall we?
I love it.
I want you to leave this show knowing that no matter where you go in the world, there's going to be some bridges, and allow yourself to be human. And those bridges that get you from point A to point B are not just bridges of your own, but they're bridges that you have to heal from to get across. And as you go across them, you look behind you and you recognize that you have laid a path for other people to cross it as well. So don't ever feel bad about your human experience and things that you have to go through and things that you do go through. Life happens to us all, but you have to love yourself enough to experience your experiences, learn, grow, evolve from them, heal, right? And allow those bridges around the rest of the world, for all people around the world who will have a human experience as well, right? To walk behind you in learning, in love, but in learning. I choose to walk behind people that have done it before me as a way to learn, not as a way to compete, not as a way to be on a pity pot, right? And I have to love myself enough to not speak negatively about myself, to not think negatively about myself as I experience this thing called life, right? And I have to love myself enough to let people go who do not evolve with me, who do not want to cross over with me, right? And I have to choose me and know that God loves me enough that the people that are meant to do this thing called life alongside of me for however long the reason and the season is going to be, right, is going to be just that. Trust your intuition, trust your gut. Be kind to you, be good to you, be merciful to you, right? Love you enough to be with you, become your own friend. Understand that the levels of intimacy that is required for you to live a loving life in this world with hope, with dreams, with inspirations, right? And you will draw the people near and dear to you, right? Because they will recognize the love that they have for themselves, even if it seems hidden, right? When they're in your presence. And that's worth the walk. That's worth the journey. Build your bridges.
Listen.
Thank you. Thank you.
If y'all don't know,
you're welcome.
Now you know.
Listen.
We thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For your presence, for who you are, for what you're doing across the world, just helping people to become better and understanding God's love and loving themselves. Man, I'm super.
If you guys look, just go buy her books. Go to Instagram. Check her on Instagram. She's on Facebook. Everywhere. Check her out. I promise you will be uplifted.
Website is in the chat. Yeah,
you will be uplifted in so many ways. And then if there's anybody watching who might want to donate to your foundation, where would they donate to?
On prettytome.org.
Okay.
Go to prettytome.org.
All right.
Awesome. So y'all hear that. So listen, thank you so much for taking time out to be on the Crosstalk podcast. We thank you. We truly love you for taking the time out to do that. Be blessed, and we will definitely be reaching out to you to check on you.
Thank you.
If there's anything that we can do, please reach out to us and let us know. We're more than willing to do that. Thank you so much.
Listen, y'all, this is her music playing softly in the background.
Yes.
We're not going to play it too loud because copyright infringements and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys listen very softly in the background.
Right. Come on, girl. Man, that's what I'm talking
Listen
about.
to that.
Listen, it comes from real experience, right? It comes from real experience. Though if you listen to the lyrics, you can relate.
Yeah.
You will relate. That entire album is about healthy love and inspiration, and anyone can relate.
Amen.
So once again, thank you so much.
Thank
and we
you.
will definitely be checking with you.
Download the song. It came out yesterday. Download the song. Download the song. It's on every platform, man.
Yes, please go do that.
Once
Check out-
again, the song's called Dream by Keyonna Monroe. Go and download it now on every streaming platform. Download it, download it, download it. Buy her books. Go check her out. Amazing woman.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
All right. God bless you.
Keyonna.
Take it easy. Thank you for everything. And she was 3 hours away, mind you. And then still decided to come and do the show with us. God bless you. We love you for loving yourself and loving everybody else and for pointing to everybody else with all that love that your big heart has.
Oh, thank you.
God bless you.
so
You have a good
much.
night.
You
Man,
too.
what a way to end
Bruh.
the show. Listen, May was these women got superpowers. I don't know what y'all talking about, but man, this is.
Oh, man.
Listen, y'all can go and check out the Crosstalk podcast. These last episodes that we had during the month of May has been super amazing. Did that wrap up season 1, or is there another? Like what?
I think we're going to come back and do one more episode.
One more episode.
And we're going to do the highlights or talk about the whole season.
Yeah, for sure.
But we are about to go ahead and bring season 1 to a close.
Yeah.
So thank you guys all for coming and checking us out. Thank you guys for going to the podcast page and checking us out. Listen, you can go to YouTube. You can subscribe because we go live there too. All right. So remember, we're going to be on YouTube, Facebook. We're going to catch up all the recordings on Spotify as well as Anchor.
Yes.
So be sure to check out everything that we're doing. Stay tuned because season 2 going to come by quickly. You know what I'm saying? Every Tuesday, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, Crosstalk podcast.
Back to the basics and go get that album. Once again, it's her single called Dream from Keyonna Monroe. Keyonna, appreciate you for blessing us, man.
Love you very much. Thank you.
We out of here.
Now that I'm saved, I'm giving praises to Crosstalk.
Yo, Davis, another one. Check it.
It's the
What does it
Crosstalk.
profit a man just to lose his soul? It's like the end of a rainbow without the gold. It's like a car without no AC. Cause it don't matter how you ride, you gon' feel the heat. What does it profit a man if he gave his life, forgiving sins to make amends and no more strife? Let me tell you about this faith talk. It was the blood so we could see the Crips walk.
It's the Crosstalk.